I was born in 1945 in Tell City and am their only child. Mother died in 1985. Dad subsequently married Mary Alf Marcroft, and they enjoyed 16 years of marriage before his death in 2006. He and Mary, while they were members of different churches, were each and together devoted to their church. They continued to share their gifts of music, organ, and choir. They'd go back and forth and sing or perform at each other's churches. As I've said before, God came first. And it really seems apparent to me that my dad came from a long line of what I would call churchmen, going way back to Benjamin in Maryland, whose lives reflected their belief that faith is central to life and is the foundation of a good life. Now, while this family history seems a bit serious and perhaps overdone to you, in my dad's life and in our family, it was real, and it was felt, and it was lived. I suppose you might think this made living in our family not much fun, and that really wasn't the case. It was simply a purposeful family. There was never a question of who you were or what was expected of you. Now, I look upon this as a great gift. I thought working hard was the only way to do anything, because my mother and dad did just that. And while everyone knew I was the principal's daughter, I had great friends, loved teachers. Don't believe I ever received any favoritism because I was his daughter. He was, in some ways, pretty inflexible in that way. He had his standards and his beliefs, and we were his family, so he made the rules. Mother just sometimes used to roll her eyes, but she always said, well, that's just the way your father is, and you have to accept it. In retrospect, I'm really fortunate because it fit my personality really well. I was disciplined. I wanted to study, so I wasn't rebellious. So I never really felt that there was anything like overly disciplined or strict about my family. I just simply believed when they said to me, "There's only one way to live your life. You work hard, do everything well, the best you can, and you don't have any other choice." So that was kind of the way that I grew up. Dad was also very aware of his devotion to school, and Joe Talley at Dad's funeral called him the consummate schoolman, always sacrificing for what the school, the teachers, or the students needed, and to his church. As an example, every weekend in our house was pretty much the same. You all will remember Friday night was a ball game. We always went to the ball games, or tailgate, wherever we were, went to ball games. And Saturday morning, Dad would be up early and back down to school, to work. He'd come home about noon, and from Saturday noon on, my dad would either work on a sermon or work on his Sunday school lesson. Couldn't be any noise in the house, unless it was a baseball game, like a Cincinnati baseball game on the radio. But pretty much the house had to be quiet because he was working on a sermon or a Sunday school lesson. I might, during my teenage years, have gone out during the night, but I remember the weekends were very structured from Saturday morning on. After Daddy finished his Sunday school lesson, if we were singing at church, then Mother would play piano and Dad and I would practice what we were going to sing. Sunday was church somewhere or two places. Sunday afternoon, Mom and I would count the church offering, and Dad would go back down to high school every Sunday afternoon. I mean, every Sunday afternoon. And sometimes we might go down to Christney to visit relatives, but we'd have dinner, my grandparents or my aunt and uncle, and then we'd come home, and sometimes he'd even drop us at the door and go straight to the high school. Just an amazingly dedicated man.